Hello, my beautiful creative hearts. This is the last video I'm going to post in my event that I've created for Friday, our watercolor paint at 1 p.m. on Friday, our Valentine's Day event. It's going to go live. It's a free event, and I'm looking forward to seeing who's going to come out and join me in doing our flower picture. Right there it is, right? This one right here. We're going to do something similar to this. Yours may not end up like this. It may be something entirely different, and you may decide to use different colors. It's going to be up to you. But this is what we're going to be doing Friday. And right now, I wanted to prepare the canvas for Friday, this backdrop. If you want a backdrop, now's the time to do it, so that it'll have plenty of time to dry before you start putting the flowers over it. Sometimes backdrop colors provide more depth to whatever you're painting. So we're going to go ahead and get the canvas prepared. I have a piece of my watercolor paper. That's one thing we're going to need for Friday is watercolor paper, right? And I have the two different styles of paints, the tubes and the, I don't even know what these are called, dry trays, where you wet the pigment. The pigment's dry until you wet it right in the tray and you use it there. And then the tubes, I'm going to do another yellow backdrop because I'm going to stick with the red, orange, yellow theme. It's a good color combination. But you know, if you wanted to go with something different, that's a green, that's that green. If you wanted to go with something different, you could pick some complementary colors like a purple flower and an orange flower. Or you could do purple and blue flowers with green stems. Or you can get really creative and not even go with green stems. Make your stems the color you want your stems to be. So I'm going to go with the yellow backdrop again. But you can pick whatever backdrop you want. Now, I want you to keep in mind that whatever the backdrop is, it needs to be light because you don't want a lot of dark color. Your flowers won't show up, right? So, a very light color, and it could be blue, but make it very light blue. So, what does that mean? You're going to need more water, less pigment, okay? I'm going to go ahead and use this because I think several of you may have these, and you have to get used to the idea of mixing your different watercolors in here, right? So I'm going to turn this camera down toward the paper and toward this watercolor tray so that you can see it. Paper, watercolor tray. All right, so I've got my 2 cups. I've got one that I'm going to use for dirty water and then clean water when I go to use other colors. Okay, and I will put these actually right here. Right now, both of them are clean, so I'm just going to use the one right here. I'm going to go ahead, this is going to be a wet on wet technique for me, and I'm going to go ahead and wet my paper. Wet the paper. Kind of where I want some of the color to be, or where I want the color to be is a better way to put it. Now I'm not putting tons of water down because I don't want it to drip. You know, I don't want it so much that it's dripping. I'm going to have more water on top of it when I put the color down. I just want the paper to be damp, wettish, not soaking wet. Okay, and when we paint on Friday, we don't want to put down gobs of water either because we want it to dry as we go. So let me show you about what we're looking at. You can see it's wet, but it's not dripping. It's wet, but it's not dripping. Okay, now I have yellow right here, and I'm going to go ahead and put some clean water in my tray, like right here. All right. Clean water in my tray. Enough to make a really nice light yellow. So I've got a little puddle of water here. Now I'm going to start grabbing some of my yellow. Okay. I've got to get this thing wet. I haven't used it today, and I have to grab some of that pigment. Let's put it over here into the water, and you can see it's turning into a very nice light yellow. See? Now I'm going to need more than that, but we'll use that for now. Let me just put some down, and it's fairly light. I like that. That'll be a nice yellowish hue in the background. I'm going to spread it, and it doesn't have to be an even color. It just, like I said, it's a backdrop color, and I'm wanting to put the color down. Again, now you can see I'm not putting down gobs of water. I'm just putting down the pigment with the water that I've mixed here. And I mixed what I wanted here before I came over here. I didn't grab it here, put it here, and then grab water and just start going crazy with it, because I don't want all that water. I want to control the amount of water I have on this paper right now. So now I've got, you could barely see it in the camera, but it is a very, it's a yellow hue, and then it'll be really good for the background. Now as this dries, the color will change. This one here looked, the backdrop of this looked about like this. So it'll deepen up a little bit as it dries. Okay? While we're waiting for that to dry, and just one more thing to think about, if you have tubes, if you went out and got some of these tubes, or you had the tubes and you're working with a tray like this, you're going to fill your wells with water, and depending on how many different hues of one color, not hues, how many different shades of one color you need, like say I needed 2 shades of yellow, right? So I'm going to grab my yellow tube, and I'm just going to put the paint in one well, and then I'm going to work with the other 2 wells that have the water in it already. And I won't have a big brush like this. I'll have a smaller brush like this guy right here. Bam. That's reasonable for this type of picture that we're going to be doing. So I take my dry brush. Let's just see this, and let's move it a little bit closer for you. Take my dry brush, excuse me, and I have my 2 water wells here and my paint here, straight out of the tube, right? And then I'm just going to mix it right here in the water well that I have the water in. You can see how deep that yellow's already coming out to be. And if I show you, I already did it on that corner. I could show. I'm going to test that color. That's still very light yellow. If I want a darker yellow for my picture, I'm going to mix a darker yellow in my. I'm going to scrape it off so I don't get tons of water on my paper. Now let's try it again. Now see, that's more yellow, isn't it? Now, and again, you're going to need some paper towels. Let me grab the paper towel I have right here. All right, we're gonna make this one lighter. So we're not going to use as much paint, right? So we're going to go ahead and mix this well, and you can see that it looks lighter than that. This is darker. It's more opaque, and it's a darker yellow. And now we're going to see, and that's a lighter yellow. So if you needed 2 different shades of yellow, you'd mix them in the wells, and then you would tap your paintbrush off and then paint the paper. You don't want gobs and gobs of water on your paper. You want to treat it like paint. So you have to mix it here, tap it off, and then use it over here. See? Okay? All right. So we've got our backgrounds done. Let's go ahead and move you up here. Hello again. We've got our background done. It's getting ready for Friday. And we have our paints, our paper, our brushes, and our water, and our either this or the lid of this, whatever you're working with, okay? So I'm really looking forward to seeing you Friday. Bye.